Hey, welcome back to JKMoto Entertainment channel. Welcome back once again to Stable B, our favorite place. We are back tonight again with our 2008 Yamaha R6 YZF R6, I think. In the latest episode last week, if you haven't seen that, go ahead and check it out. I'll link it right here, and I'll link the whole playlist down in the comments, or give it a few seconds. Also right here, so you can go check out every other video on the playlist. But recently, we brought this thing from a lower height back to a normal kind of stock-ish height is what we're gonna call it. And tonight, we're gonna take the back of this and bring it back in. I was told by the owner, make this something that you would enjoy riding so that I can also enjoy riding it. So that's what we're gonna do tonight. Luckily, as I mentioned in the last video, the master link on this chain is a non-riveted, i.e. removable or semi-permanent master link, so it should be nice and easy. I don't even have to buy a new master link or anything like that. So we're gonna go ahead and pull the back wheel off, pull the swing arm extenders out, make the chain shorter. We'll get the exact length once we get in there. We don't want to overdo or underdo that. That's the important part. Don't cut too many lengths. Measure twice, cut once, I think is how that goes. Well, that's at least when you're woodworking. Woodworking, motorcycle working is not the same thing. But anyway, that's what we're gonna do tonight, is bring this thing back in and get it fully back to what we're gonna call stock form. And then as we move on through this build series, we'll get to the electrical and the cooling components. We already figured out that it does need a new radiator. It's got leaks all over, and we're assuming most likely a regulator rectifier. Maybe a stator, we'll see. But more troubleshooting and whatnot on that will come later on. Tonight we're just gonna bring this rear wheel back into where it truly belongs. So stick around for that awesomeness, and before you do, please, down below, click the subscribe button, throw a like on the video. If you have any questions or comments or any tips for me, please leave them down in the comment section down below. This is the first time I've taken a swing arm extension off of a bike. So if we have any learning going on tonight, you guys will be here for it. I try not to hide anything crazy that goes on here in the stable, because, you know, sometimes I learn, sometimes you learn. Hopefully you guys can learn from my mistakes if I make them first. And maybe I can learn from your mistakes one day if you let me know what they are down in the comment section down below. Let's get into the video. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is take this rear wheel off, and then we should be able to just pull the swing arm extenders off of there, and then realistically shorten the chain, put everything back together. That should be all we're doing tonight. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this is a pretty short video, but we might run into some complications. I have no idea. But we're gonna get this rear wheel removed, and we'll start there. One thing to note, this brake line is an aftermarket brake line. I talked to the owner and mentioned we can get a new one, or I can just kind of tuck it up out of the way. I think I'll be able to zip tie it to some things where it's not going to be a problem. And if it still works, it still works. Rear brakes, you don't use them a ton anyway, so you should be okay. But we'll go ahead and get this loosened. One thing, if you're ever removing a rear axle nut and you're on a stand, I always recommend loosening in the down direction as opposed to the up direction, so you don't lift the bike up off the stand. Rear axle nut, license plate. We'll grab our washer, and then we'll grab our rubber mallet. Give the axle rod a good old tap tap so we can grab it on the other side while supporting the wheel. It kind of looks as if this is also an adjustable swing arm extender. By the look of these things, maybe you can flip them around and get more or less extension on your swing arm. But that's our rear wheel removed. We'll pull the brake up out of here, set that off to the side, and then pull our chain off, set that over, and pull the rear wheel out. All right, so it looks like these things are just connected with these sweet little aluminum plates. Also, for some odd reason, I went to pull out a 5mm Allen. That didn't work, so I pulled out a 6mm Allen. That also didn't work, so I pulled out a 7/32, and why, it fits perfectly. So, as far as I can tell, this is all this is. Pretty nice and simple. You got two bolts here. We're gonna pull them out on both sides, pull these stupid swing arm extenders out. With any luck, the owner will let me keep at least one of them, because it does say R6 on it, which is kind of cool. Oh, those are much easier to loosen than I thought they were gonna be. That's good, maybe. Good for me, maybe bad for someone who's actively riding it. We're gonna be careful on this side. Nope, no, nice and loose, easy day. I was gonna say we're gonna be careful on this side not to lift the bike up, but this is literally, that's it. So I'm gonna swap out for a ratchet. You know, with any luck, this is gonna end up being a 5-minute video, because this is gonna go so well. We'll see once we get to the chain unlengthening part, how well this goes. All right, so now I gotta figure out how this part comes out nicely, which my first thought is hit it with a hammer. My second thought is to hit it with a softer hammer, that being your thumb or your palm. And it's looking like the only thing we might run into is not having the bolts that go in and keep this thing tight. So I'll have to see if I have some bolts. I might end up having some bolts and nuts, but that'll help with keeping the rear wheel tight. So we're gonna try the same method over here, not so much. So we're gonna try the old handy hammer. Go. I don't know why it's so stuck. Perfect. See, I just think that would look really good right up there. All right. We just left off, and I think I had just gotten finally everything off the back of this Yamaha, and earlier I had said something saying this is going to be like a 5-minute video because everything is going to go so smoothly, and then I mentioned something about we might just need some bolts in here to be able to tension up the chain. We didn't just need bolts, and I learned something new about Yamahas. Almost every other motorcycle of this generation uses a standard kind of chain tensioner setup, which we'll talk about here in a second. But the Yamaha that we're working on today and throughout these videos does not. It uses one of these kinds. So here, hopefully you can kind of see that. It looked like this. We'll see it better here in a second, but to wait for this part to come in to finish up this unstretched video and get the rear wheel tightened back up to where it's supposed to be. But now that we have these parts, we're gonna go ahead and throw them on. We're gonna continue with the rest of the video. Just wanna let you guys know that that's why I'm wearing a different shirt. And I'll kind of show you around real quick and talk about why it is so different. So this is the back of my Suzuki, which you can see has that sort of chain tensioner style where you just move this guy in and out and it moves the block back and forth, so your rear axle goes back and forth and your chain here gets more or less tight. If we go over here to the Aprilia, same story, nut, bolt, axle rod. Come over to the Yamaha, there isn't anything in there because, well, we just took it apart, but if you go to the back here, there we go, and I was like, oh, it just needs a bolt to go in there. And I figured that this part would be our kind of chain tensioning part and it would move back and forth, but this guy just don't fit. So, because this is the part that did that, you know, our swing arm extender that you can see kind of here, it's sat in there and did that there. So, we got the ones we need. We're gonna go ahead and put those on. Warranty seal. Does that mean if you open this, you don't have a warranty anymore? Sure hope not. We'll see. You know, nice packaging is cool. Sometimes I wish they would just send like really cheap packaging so you don't feel so bad about messing it up and whatnot. I also bet there's like 0 instructions included with these parts. Not that there really needs to be, but I've never installed them before. How do I know how they get installed? I'm just kidding. That should be relatively simple, we assume. I guess we'll find out. I think this will just go right here. Yeah, look at that. And then the same thing for the other side. Nice and simple. And then we're gonna assume that's a 10 mil nut. We're gonna go get one and we're gonna speed this up a little bit. All right, don't mind us. Oh, mind us. Not a 10, must be a 12. Now we did get some aftermarket ones on here. Oh. So these are the Puig version. I think they get a lot better when you actually have an axle rod on there. But what we're gonna do right now as we're putting this on, we're gonna tighten this up just about as far as we can go, which will actually give us the loosest chain. We're gonna do that so that we make sure we pull the right amount of links out of the chain. So that way when it goes in, plenty of room to tighten it. Get the brake out of the way. And these things are kind of cool because not only do they have a sweet little measurement system on the bottom, but they have those. So as long as you get them lined up perfectly in the beginning, you know exactly how many clicks to go on either side. All right. So we're gonna pull that out. Looks relatively similar to the other side. And we need our wheel and put everything back together. This is so much chain, you could almost put it up around the passenger peg. Now don't mind me while we get this through here. Never a fun process. Very close indeed. Only issue I'm gonna have now is, how does that? I put it on the wrong side. Oh, that's funny. That's easy enough. Easy enough to fix. You guys can see down here. I'll show you better in a second. I put the axle through the wrong side. Usually on the bikes I'm working on, it doesn't really matter. But if you see right down here where this comes through, notice this little straight line? Straight line, pretty hard to put a bolt on that. So the axle rod needs to come through the other side. This is the right way because we can see our numbers, they're reading the right way, like everything's right. The axle rod just needs to come through or be pushed through this side to the other side. So we're gonna do that real quick. I should have caught that earlier because I noticed earlier, I was like, oh no, it'll be fine. That shouldn't matter at all. Only hard part is gonna be getting this all lined up again. You're gonna rotate it with the nut until it can't anymore, and then you're good to go. So we're gonna put the nut on the other side here. I wanna get this seated in. Once we do, then we'll be able to get that chain put on. We'll pull the master. Okay, so we got our axle rod in. Got the nut kind of started over here. I'm not too worried about that because we'll keep it loose while we tighten this up afterward. But what we're gonna do is put our chain up and over, and then we're just gonna leave it and everything's gonna be perfectly fine. I'm just kidding. That's a lot of chain. And so you go all the way down there and then back up and around. But right down here, right there, we have our master link. So we're gonna go ahead and pull that off, and then we'll cut and measure and see how much chain we wanna take off. Or measure and cut rather than cut measure. I don't even know how you begin to pull this off of here. I've never messed with these. All right, we're gonna remove this. We're gonna do it the right way this time. Take your needle nose pliers, put them on the outside, put them on the inside. Outside of the pin, I've never done this before, so bear with me here. Inside of the clip, outside of the pin, inside of the clip. It's supposed to be able to just squeeze together there, but what I'm not getting is any amount of movement. Okay, it is separating it a little bit, but it's not giving me enough to actually do it, which is interesting, to say the least. All right, we're gonna give this a go again. Don't use needle nose pliers. Use something that's actually thick enough to be able to push the whole thing out there. Here, look at that. Then we can use our needle nose to pull this off the rest of the way. Everyone see that? No, I'm working underneath it anyway. Well, anyway, here's grab our plate, our O-rings, and take our master link out. Hopefully you guys saw all that reasonably. If not, I'll show you better up close when we're putting it back together. You guys can't even see what I'm doing. Our master link set right in here, okay? So what we're gonna do, pull this chain all the way around, bring the other side of it up, and we want to measure and see where we're going to end up. So realistically what that's looking like is we're going to be right here. But if you see over here, we still have plenty of room to pull this back and be able to tighten it. So that's like a pretty tight chain. I can't get myself all the way to here, so I'm going to have to go across these two. So I'm going to remove the link, the rivet right here. I'll put the link between these two posts. And we'll see how tight that looks once we get there, but that should be pretty good. Should be plenty of room. The nice part about these rivet style, or not non-rivet style master links, the clip style, is that if we need to, we can always take another out. We can put the master in and actually test it, and it's easy to take another one out without having to redo it every time. We're gonna be using this guy. Woo! Oh, let's grab some way of marking where I want to cut, which is realistically just gonna be a little piece of duct tape. That'll be easy and work well. Okay, so I say this because this is important. What you don't want to do here is overcut and have to get a whole new chain. So, once again, we said our master link is gonna cover right here, right? So it's gonna be this link essentially. There's no point in cutting this side. All I'm gonna do is grind down this rivet right here, being very careful not to touch this one at all, and then I'll be able to pull that link out, or the pin out, and then pull that link out, and we can put the master link in there. So that's what we're gonna do. Make sure you're wearing your safety goggles and all that. Now, somewhere in there should be a link. Maybe. But it is almost as if they got welded together a long time ago. That's weird. Alright, well, we'll try grinding the other one real quick. Kinda strange. There we go. Sure enough, everything's good. Before anyone goes too crazy, yes, I still have good O-rings. Oh. And yes, it is also very warm because it got ground down. So just keep that in mind. But that is how you do that to a degree. There we go. Now, we should be able to now connect these together and then tighten the chain and see how we end up. We're gonna do that real quick. And I'm not gonna worry about putting this back together too crazily right now. There's no O-rings in there or anything like that. So all we're gonna do is tighten it up now in the back and see if that's gonna be plenty of room or not. Oh yeah, it's gonna work. Good news. That's plenty of room right here, so you guys can see where I'm pointing. Plenty of room, allows me to actually start engaging this, but I'm not gonna be all the way at the max of it, so we cut the perfect amount. So now we're gonna put this master link all back together the correct way. So we'll pull this plate back off actually, and then put our two O-rings on there. And then put this plate back on with the right way facing the right way. And then put this on here. What I am gonna do is get rid of my stupid duct tape first. Maybe. Use my pliers to do that, because why not? Alright. And the other thing I'm gonna do is kind of just squish these together. Just a tiny bit. So this goes on here easier. Apply one more squish. And then I think I'll grab the back and the front. Or the pin in the back rather, but we're gonna just use this little guy. So close. We're almost there. Apparently they do make a nice little tool for these things, but there you go. So now our chain's connected. We're gonna tighten up officially, but there's our extra. Tighten up both sides and make sure they're even. And then we're gonna get this thing dropped back down actually and see how it looks. Start on the other side first, because we haven't done anything over there yet. Oh, we definitely don't want it that tight, so. Perfect, that looks great. Go ahead and tighten up our rear axle nut a little bit. If I figure out what size I need here and figure out a quick torque spec. All right, says 80, so we're gonna give her 80. All right, it's in gear, sadly. There we go. Good to go. Chain needs cleaned. That's okay. There's our Yamaha R6, officially unstretched. As you can see, that is where it belongs, not way back there. Where it belongs. We'll do a quick closeout. Next up will be part 3, hopefully figuring out this cooling issue. All right, that's gonna finish us up on I want to say this is part 2. We raised the bike back up to stock height. Now we've returned it to stock length. Whew, it might actually not be quite stock height yet. I'm gonna have to relook in the rear and see if that thing did adjust it all the way back to stock. But at least got it closer to back to normal or to stock. So next up, we're gonna work on some cooling issues, and then we'll dive into the electrical issue, which was like the big issue that we actually needed to do with this bike. But we were told to bring it back to the form that we would enjoy riding it in, so that the owner can also enjoy riding it, and we have officially done that now. So now we can move on to the next parts. We were also waiting for a certain cooling part, which you'll have to wait for the next part of this series to figure out what it was, but we were waiting for that part to move on to the next portion of this. So now that that's in, we'll move on, we'll go film that part, and you guys can watch that next week. See you guys in the next video.